Okay, today we're going to take a look at Flutd cats. So these are feline lower urinary tract disease. Now this is a group of conditions that produce similar signs. So this includes urinary tract infections, urinary crystals, urinary stones, so struvite or calcium oxalate are the most common you're going to hear about. And this also includes the biggest category, which is idiopathic or we don't know what caused it. In those cases, we want to make sure that we take every step to help prevent it. So the things that help improve all these conditions are very similar. That's why they've been grouped together in one disease name. So let's take a look at how we're going to prevent this from happening with a diet change. So in a Flutd kitty, these cats typically are on a lower moisture diet, so the amount of urine they produce is very low. This results in them not having to urinate very frequently. And one of the things that we know about all animals is that frequent urination is part of the defense system. It helps keep bacteria from being able to enter into the bladder from the outside world. And it keeps it healthy. So if we're not producing much urine, there's no need to urinate. And so this urine will sit in the bladder longer than if you were producing a lot of urine and needing to urinate frequently. Now another thing that happens is that these cats may be on a diet that contains what is considered an average amount of minerals, but more minerals than their body would like to have. Or more importantly, because they produce so little urine, it's too much minerals for that cat. So we get these minerals or waste products that are sitting here, and this makes highly concentrated urine that has a lot of minerals in it. What happens is over time, these minerals start to fall out of the urine and settle. So they make a sediment at the bottom of the bladder. Now this sediment, at first, will start to irritate the bladder wall. This causes bleeding. Now bleeding with blood clot formation, which is going to happen in any normal animal, you're going to form blood clots. Your body's going to try to stop that bleeding. What happens is these blood clots can break off and then get stuck in the urethra. Especially in male cats, their urethra is like a funnel, and it funnels the urine out of the body. Well, the tip of the funnel is very small, much smaller than the top where stuff goes in. So stuff goes in and gets stuck. So we can have these blood clots that block it up. We can have mucus plugs. So when you irritate the bladder wall, it'll try to protect itself by making a mucus covering, so you can get some of that break off and cause a blockage. Or you can get stones that form here. And this happens when the minerals sit here for a while, and after a long period of time they start to kind of gather together. And when this happens, they're not going to be emptied out as frequently with the urine until they get to a pretty significant number. And then what happens is when the cat urinates, these stones go into the urethra and get stuck and cause a blockage. A blockage of urine, when a cat cannot produce urine, it is a life-threatening emergency. So what can we do to prevent this from happening? Well, first and foremost, the most important change you can make is getting them on a high moisture diet. As we know, cats have a very low thirst drive, so they're not going to drink water until they're very dehydrated and making very little, very concentrated urine. So what we do is we put them on a high moisture diet. They're consuming the water with their meal. More water means that there's going to be more urine produced. When we produce more urine, we have to go to the bathroom more often. So in these cats, we want them to be going to the bathroom more often, get this bladder full and need to go to the bathroom. Another thing that this large urine volume will do is, even if they're on a normal level mineral diet, so we haven't changed the composition of their diet except that we've got it high moisture, when we put this same amount of minerals that we have here in this amount of urine over here, the minerals get more spread out. And when these minerals get spread out, they're less likely to congregate, around each other and form the stones. Also, because there's so much urine that's being produced, it gets emptied frequently, so there's less time for it to settle and make the sediment on the bottom and irritate the bladder wall. But we're going to go one step further with our recommendations. With our recommendations, we're going to suggest that we limit this mineral content a little bit. So there's many different texts and many different opinions of what somebody should look at when dealing with urinary tract issues. What we're going to look at is a limiting mineral called phosphorus. So you can look at magnesium, sodium, phosphorus, calcium. We can look at all those different minerals and make it very confusing and very difficult to find a diet that fits within all the recommendations. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to pick phosphorus. Now, as a general rule, the lower the phosphorus, the lower the mineral content is in the overall diet. Now, this usually happens because phosphorus comes from bone. Bone is high mineral density. So if you have less bone, less phosphorus, less mineral density. Okay, so we're going to limit the cats to a diet that has a phosphorus below 1.2% dry matter. And now, don't worry, a lot of times this isn't listed on the cans or packages, so we've created a list of recommendations based on this criteria that is in the solution sheets for you. So if you look at the Flutd solution sheet, we have diet formula recommendations there. Those formulas are specific for being lower than 1.2% dry matter phosphorus. So those diets will eliminate some of the mineral content. So now we have even less minerals here to settle out at the bottom and cause a problem.